In our first session, Pastor Kim was helping us walk this fine line of how we understand busyness in our lives. And the conclusion that we came to is that busyness in and of itself is not a vice, but it can be a danger. And busyness in and of itself is not a virtue, but it can be a means of worship. And the problem that we're trying to address in the course of our small group study is that of sinful busyness. Sinful busyness is the busyness that comes about because we're pursuing the wrong things, or we're pursuing the right things, but for the wrong reasons. This is the kind of busyness that dishonors God, and it destroys our souls and destroys the relationships around us. It's the kind of busyness that comes about because we're poorly stewarding the things that God has entrusted to us. At first blush, it might seem like sinful busyness is a logistical problem, and that all we need to do in order to solve sinful busyness is simply make some lifestyle changes. I just need to stop saying yes to so many things. I need to stop signing my kids up for so many sports teams. I need to take a break from children's ministries. I need to throw my iPhone away and pull out the old rotary phone from my childhood. And we can mistakenly believe that sinful busyness is simply a logistical problem, that the solution to our sinful busyness is to simply do more or do less. We do want there to be changes, maybe even significant changes in your life by the end of the study. There probably are some of you who do need to do more, and there are probably some of you who do need to do less. But if we wanted to get to the real reason why our busyness suffocates us, we have to understand that it's a spiritual problem. A great passage that addresses this is found in the book of Jeremiah in the 2nd chapter. And in that chapter, God says this, "Be appalled, O heavens, at this. Be shocked. Be utterly desolate, declares the Lord. For my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that can hold no water." Israel was and is a dry and arid place, and water was a scarce commodity. And if you found a source of water, of fresh water, of living water, then you stuck by that water because that was the only place where you were going to find refreshment and life. And it would be foolish to turn your back on that fountain of living water and instead turn to the dry, dusty ground and start digging a hole and trying to put your mouth against that dry, dusty dirt and trying to suck water and life and refreshment out of that. And yet that's the picture that God has of our sin. All sin, including our sinful busyness, boils down to committing 2 evils. That we forsake God, who is the source of all life, the source of all refreshment and all satisfaction. And instead, we turn to try to find our fulfillment in everything that the world has to offer us. We dig and we scrape, and we try to suck life out of the things of the world. So take this passage and lay it over the pattern of your life. You're busy, you say. But are you busy drinking from the riches of a relationship with the living God? Or are you busy trying to suck satisfaction out of the world? Where are you finding your hope and your comfort and your rest and your refuge? Is your great source of hope the fact that the weekend is almost here? Is the well-being of your soul dependent on having a better vacation this year than you did last year? Is your great refuge another night of Netflix? Does your comfort and security come from the diversity of your retirement accounts? Some of the things we busy ourselves with are not bad things, but none of those things are meant to be our source of life. You have to ask yourself, is the well-being of my soul dependent on these things? Am I spending an inordinate amount of time investing in these things? Am I fearful and anxious when I don't have these things? Are these the things that I'm longing for, yearning for, planning for, saving for? If that's the case, then you might be trying to suck satisfaction out of a broken cistern. So what are you busy with? Are you busy drinking from the fountain of life that is a relationship with God? Or are you busy building a broken cistern? What Jeremiah 2 and the rest of the Bible show us is that sin, all sin, including our sinful busyness, is a spiritual problem. And because it's a spiritual problem, it needs a spiritual solution. And that is exactly what God has provided in the gospel. Jesus has come, and Jesus has died for us. He has been our substitute and taken the wrath of God that we deserve. And Jesus has been raised from the dead for us so that he is the promise of new life. And if we place our faith in Jesus, we are forgiven. We are forgiven of all the times where we have forsaken the fountain of living water. We've been forgiven for all the times when we have tried to suck satisfaction out of the broken cisterns of the world. We've been forgiven for all the times when we were sinfully busy. We've been forgiven all the times when we have pursued the wrong things and we pursued the right things for the wrong reasons. But God doesn't just forgive us. He gives us a relationship with him in the gospel. And Jesus has connected us through the gospel to the source of life, to the fountain of living water that is a relationship with a God who has made you. And he has taken all the broken cisterns in your life and ripped them away from you, and he has taken you by the hand and led you to the fountain of water and invited you to drink. For those of you who are feeling busy and feeling tired, this may not have been the answer that you were looking for. This may not have been the answer you expected, but it is the answer that you need. In order to get a real answer to the problem of our sinful busyness, we have to look to the gospel. So how is it that the gospel gives us rest in the midst of our busyness? That's what we're going to look at next in the following segment. But for now, we can be thankful that God has given us the solution for our biggest problem, that he has provided a spiritual answer to the spiritual problem of our sinful busyness.